Her voice cracked before the words even fully left her mouth. "Please, don't kick me, I'm already hurt." The restaurant went quiet in a way that felt heavier than noise. Forks froze mid-air. Conversations collapsed into silence. And right there, on the polished marble floor of an upscale downtown bistro, a young waitress stood trembling, one hand pressed against her bruised ribs, the other clutching a tray she was clearly afraid to drop. Her name was Lena, 23 years old, 2 jobs, no safety net, no backup plan, just rent due in 5 days and a body that was running on exhaustion and hope she couldn't afford to lose. The man standing in front of her looked irritated, expensive suit, quiet confidence, eyes sharp like someone used to being obeyed. Moments earlier, she had stumbled, a single misstep. A glass-tipped red wine splashing dangerously close to his tailored jacket. The manager had rushed over, already apologizing on Lena's behalf, already positioning himself between her and the guest, as if bracing for impact, because that's what usually came next, yelling, humiliation. Threats to fire her, or worse. Lena had learned to read those moments quickly. Her shoulders hunched, her voice dropped, and the words slipped out before she could stop them. "Please, don't kick me, I'm already hurt." She wasn't talking about the fall that morning on the bus steps, or the ache in her side from lifting boxes at her night job. She was talking about life, about how hard it had been hitting lately, over and over without mercy. The man stared at her, and for a long second she braced herself. Instead, he slowly knelt down. At first, people thought he'd dropped something. Then they realized. He was checking her arm. "Who did this?" he asked quietly, pointing to the fading bruise near her elbow. Lena shook her head, embarrassed. "It's nothing, sir. I'm sorry about the wine. I'll clean it." "Please don't sit," he said gently, pulling out a chair. The manager's face went pale. "Sir, I can handle this." "No," the man replied, still calm. "She's been handling enough." The room felt different now, like everyone was holding their breath. The man introduced himself simply as Mark, no last name, no titles, just another customer, at least that's what everyone assumed. He asked Lena if she'd eaten today. She hesitated, then shook her head. He waved over another server and ordered a full meal for her, not takeaway, not rushed, a real meal, hot, fresh. "Eat," he said. "You can cry later." That's when Lena broke. Tears slid down her cheeks as she sat there, surrounded by strangers, feeling seen for the first time in months. She apologized through sobs, explaining how she'd been working double shifts since her mom got sick, how her tips barely covered bus fare, how every day felt like one mistake away from losing everything. Mark listened, really listened, no phone, no interruptions. When she finished, he reached into his wallet, not to tip. He handed the manager a card, closed the restaurant for 10 minutes. He said, "Pay the staff for the hour." The manager blinked. "Sir, I can't. That card says you can." Mark replied. 10 minutes later, the doors were locked. Staff gathered in confusion. Lena sat frozen, convinced she was dreaming. Then Mark stood. "My name is Mark Ellison," he said to the room. "I'm the CEO of Ellison Hospitality Group." Gasps rippled through the restaurant. Their company owned over 100 restaurants across 3 countries, including this one. He turned back to Lena. "You weren't clumsy," he said softly. "You were exhausted, and no one who's hurting should ever have to beg not to be kicked." He offered her a job, not as a waitress, a paid training position, health benefits, flexible hours, tuition assistance. And before leaving, he slipped an envelope into her hand. "Open it later," he said. Inside was enough money to cover her rent for 6 months. Lena didn't just cry that night. She breathed. Weeks later, she'd walk into work standing taller. Months later, she'd help train new staff, always watching for the ones who looked like they were barely holding on, because she never forgot the day a stranger chose kindness over power. And maybe that's the real lesson here, that we never know how close someone is to breaking. That a single moment of compassion can change the direction of a life. In a world that moves fast and hits hard, this story reminds us that kindness still matters.